Hello, everyone. Tonight, we are standing at the edge of the mammoth steppe. Your boots crunch softly through frost-locked soil, and your breath curls in slow, cloudy spirals. The wind is sharp enough to cut thought itself. Somewhere behind the distant firs, something is moving. It's not afraid of you. It might even be amused. And let's be honest, you probably won't survive. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Also, post your location and your local time in the comments. I love seeing where and when we all meet like this. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. The light is going fast, a gray sort of amber that makes the snow-covered landscape seem like it's glowing from inside. You shuffle along the edge of a fir thicket, the trees heavy with frost drooping like old men nodding off mid-conversation. Somewhere behind you, something crunches. You stop, so does it. Classic move. You try not to breathe too loudly. Up ahead, the land slopes down into a wide open plain, flat as a table but scarred here and there with wind-etched boulders and clumps of ice-capped grass. The kind of place where something very large could disappear with just a shrug of the terrain. And yet, for all its emptiness, this place is crowded with tension, with silence, with things you cannot see. This was the mammoth steppe stretching from France to Korea, colder than modern tundra, richer in life than a present-day zoo. To your left, a slope of packed snow crumbles under the weight of something unseen. Not fast, not panicked, just heavy. Like it knows it belongs. Your fingers twitch toward the stone blade you wear at your waist, but you don't draw it. That would be a decision, and decisions are dangerous. There's something strange about the light. The sun is gone, but it's not quite night. Shadows reach longer than they should, leaning out like they're curious. That's when you hear it, the distant not quite wind howl. Not high like a wolf's, not guttural like a bear's. It wavers hollow and low like a wooden flute played too slow. You can feel your chest tighten with something that isn't exactly fear. More like ancient memory knocking on a locked door. Your ancestors heard this sound too. Some called it a ghost. Some called it a god. Some just didn't call it anything and ran. And honestly, that third group had a point. You crouch, pressing your palm into the packed earth. It's warm. Not all of it, just this patch, as though something large had been lying here not 10 minutes ago. You brush aside some brittle grass and find a print. Not a paw. Not quite a claw either. It's more like the compromise between cat and bear, with rounded pads and sharp edges. One of the front toes is missing. Old injury healed wrong. This one's irregular. As you stand, the wind carries something sharp to your nose. It smells like marrow. That thick, salty scent of recently cracked bones. Not blood, this one doesn't waste time spilling things. It prefers what's inside. Modern scientists call this place the last great grazer zone. It supported massive herds of reindeer, bison, woolly rhinos, and of course mammoths, big walking buffets for the Ice Age's top diners. And among those diners was one that rarely gets mentioned in polite textbooks. Pachycrocuta brevirostris, the short-faced hyena. But don't let that name fool you. It was built like a bear, bit like a vice, and howled, like the world ending in slow motion. You step forward, drawn by the low echo of something large walking ahead. The snow here has been trampled. There's a drag mark, a tail. Number something heavier. You see broken tufts of fur snagged on a bramble, thick striped with a greasy sheen. You lift it to your nose. Nothing about it is comforting. They say this creature roamed from Spain to northern China. A pan-continental predator, wide-jawed and low-slung, with shoulders higher than its hips and an appetite for bones. Not meat. Bones. It didn't need the chase, just the aftermath. And right now it might be following yours. Up ahead, a clump of pine sways against the wind. For a moment, one of the shadows in the trees doesn't move with the others. Then it does. You don't remember blinking. You pass a rock scratched deep with claw marks. Not fresh, but not old either. just enough to say, mine. You're in someone's yard now, and the owner's home. Odd fact. Some paleontologists believe Pachyrhino's bite was so strong it could crack open a camel's femur in under 5 seconds. Camels in Ice Age Asia. You hadn't even thought of them yet, had you? The light is almost gone now. The temperature's dropping fast, but your skin doesn't feel it anymore. Too busy processing instinct. Your body knows what's out there even if your mind doesn't. You remember a story once told in a cave painted not spoken. A line of red ochre dots a bear a man, and between them a single red arc. A howl. A warning. Historians still debate what the symbol meant. You're starting to form your own opinion. Then the sound again. Closer. No longer curious. Calling. And now the trees go still, which is much worse than any movement they could have made. It starts low, so low your ears barely catch it at first. Not in front of you, not behind. Somewhere off to the side, just far enough away that you might pretend it came from something ordinary. But it didn't. That sound doesn't come from wolves, and you've lived long enough to know what a real bear sounds like. This is different. It rises in pitch, not sharp but steady, like it's reaching for a note it already knows. And when it finds it, the howl spreads wide through the trees, so wide it doesn't echo. It just fills. It hums in the ground. It coats your ribs. It clings to the inside of your skull like wet fur. You freeze. Even your breath holds back, unsure of what to do. A part of you wants to crouch, another wants to bolt. Neither would help. If it heard you, it already knows where you are. If it didn't, well, you'll never move quieter than the wind. You settle for stillness, and stillness settles for you. The sound fades, not in the way music ends, but like it stepped back into the dark, as if it only ever howled to remind the world it was still here, that it still could. And as far as Ice Age declarations go, that's a pretty solid one. You crouch beside a fallen log crusted with frost eyes, scanning the tree line for movement. Nothing. But your stomach churns the way it always does when a predator passes too close. Not from fear exactly, more like reverence with a side of nausea. Back in the 20th century, some paleontologists tried to reconstruct what Pachyrhino's call might have sounded like using computer models and bone resonance data. The result? Something between a lion's roar and a garbage disposal being dropped off a cliff. Not exactly bedtime material, unless your bedtime stories came with a side of psychological trauma. But tonight you don't need computer models. You've heard the real thing. You move again slower, now staying close to the edge of a low ridge. There's a vantage point just ahead where the trees thin out, and the land drops into a frozen hollow. Perfect spot for something big to rest, or for something smaller to be torn apart. You're not sure which scenario is worse, so you don't commit. Down below, moonlight creeps out from behind some clouds and spills across the snow like cold milk. At first, the space looks empty. Then your eyes adjust and you see them scrapes in the snow, divots, gouges, a pattern of movement. There had been a fight here, not hours ago. Maybe not even one. You creep down heel to toe the way your uncle once taught you before a deer hunt. Not for the deer's sake, for yours. He always said the forest listens better than any priest. You'd laughed. He never did. At the center of the hollow is a smear of red frozen mid-splash. A reindeer. Young. Its neck is twisted at a horrible angle, body, mostly intact, but one flank caved in like it had been struck by a falling tree. And its belly open, bones removed. Just bones. Carefully, like someone had known exactly what they wanted and left the rest to rot. Welcome to the work of the hyena-bear. Modern hyenas laugh, of course. But Pachyrhino didn't bother with laughter. It didn't have to. Its presence was enough. A single individual could weigh over 200 kilograms. That's more than your average modern lion. Add to that a jaw strength that makes modern bone breakers look like nutcrackers, and you get a creature that didn't just feed, it redefined what feeding meant. There's a debate among Ice Age scholars about whether these animals howled to communicate over long distances or simply to scare the absolute soul out of anything nearby. Some think it was both. A lot of Ice Age survival boiled down to multitasking. You hear another sound, lighter, higher, faster, a chorus of wolves, maybe a dozen of them, not far off. You'd expect them to close in on the kill, but they don't. They circle, whining, then fade off. Even the wolves know whose dinner this is. You stand slowly, eyes scanning the darkness. A ridge above you now seems occupied, not clearly, just enough wrongness in the shape of a rock, the angle of a shadow. You blink. It's gone. Or maybe it was never there, or maybe that's just how it prefers things. The wind stirs again, and this time it brings with it the stink of old fur, cracked teeth, and sun-dried marrow. You gag a little. Then you remember your grandmother's rule: don't smell too loud when you're near something bigger than your story. You breathe through your mouth. Back in some Ice Age cave, someone once painted a creature with the front half of a lion and the rear of a bear. Some scholars thought it was symbolic. Others thought it was psychedelic mushrooms. You're starting to think it was just a lousy attempt to draw this thing. Artistic accuracy probably wasn't the top priority when your life depended on finishing the art before dark. You crouch low again. The snow crunches behind you, light but deliberate. You don't look right away. Predators notice when you notice. You pretend you didn't hear it, turn slightly and start humming. Soft, like wind through teeth. Your tribe taught you that too. Confuse the rhythm of your fear with something musical. That way the forest can't quite tell where you are. The crunch stops. That's not a good sign. But then nothing. Just the whistle of wind across 1,000 miles of ice-blanketed memory. You're not being hunted, not tonight. But you're being observed. That's somehow worse. Up ahead, a soft ridge leads back into the trees. You start toward it one slow step at a time. Your boots slide and you catch yourself. When you look back at the carcass, it's still untouched, still bleeding coldly onto the snow. A gift, perhaps, or a test. Either way, you're not sticking around for the grading. You reach the trees, duck beneath a curtain of low-hanging pine boughs, and feel the world narrow around you. The wind dulls. The sky disappears. Your footfalls vanish into a hush of needles and damp, frozen soil. Whatever was watching, if it ever was, stays behind. For now. But your mind won't let it go. The howl still rings in your bones like a tuning fork. Someone struck directly against your spine. It's not the volume that stuck with you, it's the shape. That sound had weight. It wasn't just noise. It was declaration. Like it was saying, I'm still here. I've always been here. And now you're finally about to meet the thing that made it. The clearing opens slowly like a secret being remembered. First you notice the smell, rank but not foul. Earthy, warm, oily, animal. Then you hear the breath, slow, wet, drawn in through thick nostrils and pushed out like steam from a broken pipe. You freeze. And there it is. Half shrouded in shadow, hump-shouldered, massive. Its forequarters slope high, absurdly high, like a bison exaggerated in a dream. Its back legs are smaller, almost dainty by comparison, but that's just the trick of proportion. The head is low muzzle, short ears, twitching eyes the color of old honey. It doesn't blink. You do? The Pachycrocuta brevirostris. It doesn't lunge. It doesn't growl. It just exists in that space like it owns all the time in the world. The way an apex predator behaves when nothing outranks it. It sniffs once, then sits, its massive bulk settling into the frost like a throne being occupied. The trees around it seem smaller now. Its coat is patchy and striped darker along the back like soot rubbed through brindled fur. Some reconstructions show it spotted like a modern hyena. Others think it was more uniform. Scientists still argue about the coat pattern. You can't help but think, why not both? It's not like fashion was standardized in the Ice Age. You crouch behind a mossy boulder, careful not to break any twigs. The hyena-bear flicks an ear but doesn't turn. In fact, it doesn't seem to be doing anything at all. Then you notice the second one, smaller, younger. It slips out from behind a larch stump, wobbles a little, then plops onto its belly with all the dignity of a wet rug. Its head is massive for its body. Classic Ice Age proportions, big skull now, so you can crack skulls later. The larger one, probably the mother, leans down and licks its ear once. A gesture of calm. And it works even on you. You almost forget what this creature is capable of. You've seen reconstructions. The skull with its deep sagittal crest and reinforced zygomatic arches is built for bite force. Estimates say over 5,000 newtons. That's enough to shatter a femur like dry chalk, enough to pop a pelvis open like a seed pod. But here now, you see something quieter. Patience, warmth, even tenderness, which is somehow more terrifying, because it means this monster thinks. Odd fact. The bones of Pachyscrocuta have been found in Spain, China, and across Central Asia, often near Homo erectus sites. Some of those bones are cracked open. Some of ours are too. Were we just another carcass? Or were we competitors? It doesn't matter now. You're not here to win anything. You're here to observe, to survive. The pup stands again and toddles forward, nuzzling at a bone you hadn't noticed until now, a large, clean femur, maybe elk. The mother watches, doesn't help. Learning moment. The pup bites, fails, tries again, then snap. The sharp crack of ancient instinct fulfilled. This one will do just fine. You remember reading about a dig site in the Los Plateau where a nearly complete skeleton was unearthed beside piles of cracked bones. The theory is it used the same feeding spot for generations, crushing and caching and returning again. A permanent picnic. You wonder if this is such a place. The big one shifts, stands, turns her head towards you, not directly, just enough that the fur at your neck rises. She knows. Of course she knows. She's known since the minute you stepped onto this land. Your heartbeat must sound like thunder to her. You're sent a billboard. You're breathing a signal flare. She just doesn't care. You're not a threat yet. You're not food yet. But she remembers your kind. And memory runs deep in creatures like this. There's a small chance her ancestors met yours once somewhere along the floodplains of the Altai. Your ancestors with their fire and chipped flint, hers with their shoulders like anvils and teeth like crowbars. They might have fought or watched each other from across a field of bones, mutual understanding glowing in their eyes like coals. Historians still debate whether early humans competed with Pachyscrocuta or avoided them entirely. Honestly, the answer is probably yes. You shift your weight, and the bark beneath your foot creaks just a little. Just enough. Her head jerks, eyes narrow, ears snap forward. That single moment of softness disappears like smoke. You see the creature in full now, alert, calculating, ancient. The pup freezes. Mother growls, not loud, not showy, just enough bass to make the air vibrate. You slide back behind the rock, heart racing, skin cold, and you wait. 10 seconds, 20, a minute, nothing follows. When you peek again, the clearing is empty. No hyena-bear, no pup, no bone. Just frost, just wind, just tracks already beginning to fill with snow. You exhale. It's loud in the stillness. And now you know it's real, not just a fossil, not just a skull in a museum drawer. You've seen it, felt it, smelled its breath, watched it raise its young. And something about that changes you. The sky has darkened fully now. No twilight left, just the silver smear of stars dragging low across a cloudless dome and the soft glow of your breath each time you exhale. It's colder here than anywhere you've been so far, but that doesn't stop the reek of decay. You found a dinner table, but not yours. You come upon it by accident, really just following a trail through some birch saplings when your boot hits something hollow. You flinch, already halfway imagining teeth in the dark, but it's just a rib, curved, thick, yellowed at the edges and slick with old frost. You step back, lift your foot, and look around. It's not alone. The clearing is littered. Bones, so many bones, not stacked or hidden or buried, just strewn as if something had dragged a dozen different meals here over months and thought, I'll tidy up later. Bits of mammoth, wild horse, woolly rhino, ribs like sled runners, teeth like polished pebbles, and skulls cracked down the center like overripe fruit. You crouch beside one. It's from a juvenile mammoth, still has a few milk tusks coming in. The top of the skull has been crushed inward with terrible precision. You run your fingers along the jagged seam. This wasn't done with claws. This was jaws. Pressure. Crack and slurp. The brain case was the prize. And you understand something horrible. The hyena-bear isn't just a predator. It's an opportunist. It doesn't stalk with elegance like a leopard, doesn't chase like a wolf. It waits, watches, lets others do the hard part, then shows up when the job's done and takes what it wants. And if anyone objects, well, you look at a horse femur bitten clean through at the midpoint. It's said that no other Ice Age carnivore had a bite quite like it. Even today, the spotted hyena comes close, but not quite. The short-faced hyena had bulk leverage and a skull built like a hydraulic press. It didn't need to kill you to ruin your day. It just needed to take what was yours. And honestly, that's almost more insulting. There's a half-eaten carcass nearby, fresher than the rest. Maybe a week old. Hard to tell. The meat's gone from the limbs, the rib cage has been peeled open like the pages of a bad novel, but the spine remains mostly intact. You poke at it with a stick. Snaps in 3 places, so brittle. You're pretty sure the hyena-bear didn't even eat this one. Just chewed it enough to get to the good stuff and left the rest like discarded packaging. Odd fact. There's evidence that Pachi-Krakuta may have used the same feeding dens for generations. In some parts of Central Asia, entire fossil assemblages are dominated by cracked, fragmented bones, all gathered in one spot like a prehistoric garbage dump. Except the garbage fought back. You sit on a rock and watch your breath fog the air. Around you, the trees sway with boredom. No wind, just the slow creak of age. Somewhere in the far-off hills, wolves call to one another. But not here. Not near this graveyard. You pick up a humerus the size of a loaf of bread. It's scored with grooves, scrape marks left by teeth dragging across the surface. You turn it over and see an almost artistic pattern, parallel lines evenly spaced. Not random, not panicked. Someone took their time with this one. Historians still debate whether Pachi-Krakuta hunted often or mostly scavenged. Some say its body was too heavy, too lumbering to chase prey across open ground. Others point to the muscular shoulders, the claws, the intelligence. You've seen it move, it can hunt, but maybe it just prefers not to. Why waste energy when there's so much waste to begin with? You stretch out a little. The frost seeps through your cloak, but you don't mind. You're surrounded by history after all, just very dead history. There's a tooth near your knee, not sharp, thick, worn flat at the top like a broken chisel. You pocket it. Souvenir. Probably won't do well on Etsy, but you'll always know what it is. You wonder what it felt like being an herbivore here. Grazing with one eye on the horizon. Knowing that even if the lions didn't get you, even if the saber-toothed cats passed you by, even if you died peacefully, this creature would still find you, would still open you. Not out of hatred, just out of hunger. Maybe that's worse. Another thought creeps in, maybe it didn't howl to hunt. Maybe it howled to announce. I'm done waiting. That's when you hear it again, this time close, closer than it should be. But not from the trees. From below, you step back, look down, and notice the frost is thinner in one patch sunken, as if something's been sleeping beneath it. You crouch, knock on the ground. Hollow, there's a den under here. The earth shifts, just a little, then stops. You don't wait to find out more. You stand back, pedal quickly but quietly, and leave the boneyard behind. As you retreat, your thoughts race. Was this all cached for future meals? Was the mother moving the den here? Did you just wake someone up? It doesn't matter. What matters is this land isn't abandoned. These bones don't mark a tomb. They mark a territory. And you're still in it. Section 5. You climb out of the clearing with knees stiff from cold and nerves boots slipping on a carpet of frost-bitten moss. Behind you, the forest exhales with that same hollow patience you've grown to dread, like it knows you're leaving and doesn't mind because you'll be back. Everyone always comes back. Up ahead, the world opens again into the vastness of the steppe. You crest a ridge and see nothing but rolling silver tufted with winter grass and ice-stunted shrubs. And wind. Wind that cuts sideways and never stops talking. Welcome to Ice Age Asia. Or as one paleoclimatologist called it, Africa with a broken thermostat. It's strange, this place. Harsh and beautiful. It should feel empty, but it doesn't. There's too much here. Hidden in the snowdrifts and dry hollows are the tracks of everything mammoths. Musk oxen, rhinoceros, elk, cave lions, leopards, humans, birds. Ostriches even. Yes, you heard that right. Ostriches. They once roamed this same land, their feathered shadows trailing behind the herds like misplaced punctuation marks. The wind carries their stories. A roar. A call, a snapping branch, it all echoes across the tundra like a memory just loud enough to be real. You walk faster, drawn by nothing in particular and everything at once. To your left, the trail dips into a shallow ravine. You follow it not out of curiosity, but necessity. The walls offer shelter from the wind, and more importantly, from sight. You crouch and study the snow. Prints, multiple, fresh, at least 2 species, some reindeer lights skittering herd-minded, and heavier ones. 4-toed, widely spaced. Deep, the hyena-bear's tracks. You'd recognize them anywhere now. But here's what's strange. They aren't going after the reindeer. They're headed in parallel. You squint up the ravine. The tracks diverge, cross again, and then something else appears. Large feline. You know the type, wide paws, sharp claws that rarely show the quiet arrogance of something born to ambush. Scimitar cat. It's a whole party. You feel like the only guest without fur. You climb higher and find a ledge half covered in snow. From here, the land rolls out like a sheet of broken marble, each fold hiding potential teeth. You crouch silent and wait. That's when you see it. Not just one hyena bear. 3. Trotting together like linebackers in formation. 1 older female, the same from earlier, you think, and 2 younger ones nearly her size now. Siblings, cousins? Hard to tell. They move with confidence, not stealth, not urgency, just a kind of arrogant rhythm. They belong here. Everyone else just rents space. Suddenly, the trio stops. One of them sniffs. The wind turns and angles toward a small hillock where the reindeer tracks vanish. A kill, maybe. Or a den. And then something else happens. A low rumble far off. The earth doesn't shake, but the sound feels thick. Like something big just decided to be real. Over a nearby rise, you spot movement. Amber fur, short tail head, low shoulder blades pumping like pistons. Cave lion. Another one appears, and another, a whole pride. You suck in a breath. The hyena bears don't retreat. In fact, one of them trots toward the lions. What you're watching isn't a battle. It's a confrontation that happens 1,000 times a year. Too ancient to be called rare, too risky to be called routine. Lions and hyena bears don't like each other, but they live in the same space. Sometimes they fight. Sometimes they just stare. Sometimes they eat each other. Historians still debate how often these top predators actually clashed. Fossil evidence is hard to read when everyone involved ends up chewed. You inch forward. The lions hold their ground tails twitching. One snarls. The sound is sharp, precise, not a threat, a statement. The lead hyena bear doesn't flinch. Instead, she yawns. That's when it hits you. This isn't about hunger, this is about hierarchy. She's not chasing the lions. She's reminding them who shows up uninvited. The way the hyena bear moves, shoulders high, muzzle down, it's not just power, it's tradition. She's part of an old system, one that says I'm not the king. I'm the thing the king steps around. Odd fact. Some researchers think Pachecrocuta may have had complex social structures, small clans or sibling groups that coordinated feeding or territory defense. Not as intricate as modern spotted hyenas, maybe, but more than just loners. Tonight you're watching a ghost of that possibility. The lions finally back off. Not much, just a few steps. But the message is clear. Fine, this isn't worth it. Today, the hyena bear sniffed the ground where the lions had been. One urinates on a rock, flag planted. Then they move on, vanishing over the ridge like a half-remembered dream. You don't realize how tightly you've been holding your breath until your lungs burn. You sit back against a snow-covered log, overwhelmed. You just watched a moment that probably happened thousands of times in the Ice Age and maybe never got recorded. It's not in the paintings, not in the bones, it's in the rhythm. The cold logic of competition where survival isn't about speed or strength but presence. And right now, yours feels very optional. By the time you drag yourself down from the ridge, your legs feel like someone swapped them out for two frozen mammoth tusks. You walk funny now, stiff and cautious like a puppet whose strings keep catching. But still, you move forward. Because forward feels safer than staying still. You cross into a low meadow where the snow isn't as deep, just thin patches over brown grass and old dung, ancient dry cracked like clay. You pause and look around. This place smells wrong. Too warm. Too used. There are no fresh kills here, no bones scattered in reckless piles. Everything looks managed, controlled. There's a mound of brush stacked unnaturally near a hollow in the snow. And near it, the faintest line of paw prints circling like a lazy moat. You move closer, crouching. Then you hear it, a low, rhythmic wheezing. Soft, repetitive. You know that sound. You've heard it before. It's the sound of something very young, very tired, and very safe. Cubs. You drop to your stomach and slide forward until you can just peer over the ridge of the hollow. There she is. Same massive female from before, those striped haunches unmistakable, curled around a bundle of squirming fur. The pups, plural, not just one. Two, maybe three. Their eyes are sealed, their paws barely formed, but their mouths already work fine. One of them snorts and headbutts a sibling in the jaw. Mom doesn't react. She's dozing, one eye slitted just enough to watch the snow line. You could wave. She probably wouldn't move. But if you breathed wrong, you'd find out just how fast an Ice Age apex can close distance. She's huge even lying down. Her shoulders are a living barricade. You can see the muscle shift beneath her coat every time a pup wriggles. Her muzzle twitches when one of them squeaks too loudly. No sound goes unnoticed. And here's the worst part. It's adorable. You hate to admit it, but it's true. There's something absurdly sweet about watching the most terrifying bone crusher of the Pleistocene licking jelly off her offspring's ear, while her eyelids twitch with sleep. It's like watching a dragon hum lullabies. The contradiction is dizzying. Odd fact. Some cave deposits show hyena-bear dens alongside cut bones from other species, including human and bear. It's possible they cached kills inside family dens, which means this nursery might also be a pantry. There's something comforting about that. Horrifying too, but comforting. Parenting is parenting even when it happens in a meat locker. The pups squeal again, and the mother shifts her weight with a long, slow sigh. You stay still. You're not stupid. Your eyes scan the den. Inside, it's deeper than you thought. A sloping tunnel disappears into darkness, probably dug into the frost-softened soil and reinforced with bones and logs. You can see claw marks rake lines in the earth wide and deep. This wasn't her first den either. She's done this before, maybe for years. Historians still argue over how mobile hyena bears were. Some think they roamed constantly, covering huge ranges like modern wolves. Others believe they returned to the same dens each winter. The idea of a creature so terrifying also being homesick feels bizarre, but not impossible. You shift slightly and your knee crunches a patch of frost. Instantly, her eye locks onto you. No sound, no growl, just focus. You freeze. She doesn't move, doesn't blink. She just watches. It lasts maybe 10 seconds, maybe forever. Then the pup sneezes and her attention breaks. She yawns, lies back down, and resumes her nap. But you can't unfeel her stare. You back away like you're disarming a bomb. Step by slow step, knees shaking, trying not to slip. You don't even breathe until the den is out of sight and the wind returns to its usual howling. When you finally reach a rise, you collapse onto a boulder and stare out across the plain. Somewhere out there, her mate is probably hunting, or scavenging, or stealing from a leopard or ruining a carcass for fun. But here in this shallow dip in the snow is the future of a species warm, fed, and safe beneath the belly of something terrifying. You wonder what the pups will learn first. How to track a scent. How to recognize lions from leopards. How to break a caribou spine without damaging the marrow. Or maybe they'll learn silence. The kind you've carried all evening. The kind predators are born knowing. Oddly, you feel protective. Which is hilarious considering 5 minutes ago you were actively praying not to be eaten. But something about seeing them alive real small makes you ache. Not just with fear, with awe. Because this isn't just a fossil now. It's a family. You stand, stretch, and wipe the frost from your sleeves. The cold has finally crept into your joints and your breath feels heavier. But you smile anyway. Because today you saw the monster at rest. And somehow that's more haunting than anything else. Section 7. You spend the next half hour walking in circles, not out of confusion, but self-preservation. No one just stumbles away from a predator's den. You zigzag, double back, tread across your own footprints, anything to confuse a nose that might someday follow. The cold is merciless now. It slides down your collar like melting coins. Every breath feels like chewing broken mint leaves. And then you find the skull. It's half buried in drifted snow beneath a wind-shredded spruce. At first, you think it's another reindeer, or maybe a young rhino, just one more scattered relic of Ice Age hunger. But no, the shape is all wrong. Rounder, flatter, you crouch and brush it clean with your glove. It's a horse, or rather, it was a horse. The entire top of the skull is missing, not fractured, removed. Like someone had popped the cap off a kettle. The edges aren't splintered, they're clean. You run your fingers along the rim and feel grooves, circular pressure lines. Bite marks. Massive ones. You glance over your shoulder even though you know it's too late for caution. Because this was a hyena bear's doing. The jaw power needed to split a horse skull? Like this is hard to imagine, but there it is in front of you. A real ugly fact. The Pache crocuta didn't just nibble around the edges, it wanted the inside. And when it wanted something, it took it. Teeth, bone, sinew, thought memory gone. Somewhere in the wind, you hear a woodpecker knock against a frozen tree. Rhythmic. So normal it feels offensive. Odd fact. There are records of ancient hyenas. Yes, even modern ones, collecting bones in such quantity that early archaeologists thought they'd discovered human burial sites. Turns out it was just really committed snacking. You lift the skull, it's heavier than you'd think even empty. Ice has settled into the cavities, adding weight. Something about that feels metaphorical. You carry it with you half out of curiosity, half out of spite. Let the wind whisper its story through the hollowed brain case. The terrain changes again, rising into rockier ridges pocked with caves and half-frozen springs. The ground underfoot is mixed with gravel and frost-slick and uneven. Perfect habitat for the steppes' strangest residents. You slow your pace listening. That's when you spot it. A thin trail of steam curls out from the mouth of a low cavern. Not smoke steam. Warm air meeting frigid dusk. The scent is unmistakable animal musk, old kill wet fur, fermented dung. Not foul, just ancient. You crouch and move in. The cave is deeper than it looks. The entrance slopes downward, widening like a throat. Inside, the warmth wraps around you, not comforting exactly, more like the warmth you feel when stepping into someone else's coat. You don't belong here, but here you are. You shine your lantern, just a shard of fire trapped in fat, and the light brushes against the walls. Scratch marks. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Long claw scores, overlapping, crossing, layered with time. Some deep, some shallow, all deliberate. Territory. No doubt about it, this was a den. Not the den, but a den. Used seasonally, perhaps, or by a different family line. The floor is littered with bones, all sorted strangely. Femurs in one corner, jaws in another, ribs arranged like kindling. Some look chewed, others just moved. You step carefully. In one niche, you find something that stops you cold. A necklace, not Ice Age haute couture. Just a simple loop of cord, probably sinew, with 3 small carved pieces threaded onto it. A bone disc, a shell, and something that might once have been a tooth. Human. Someone came here before you. Someone left this. You pick it up and feel the cold creep up your arm. Not supernatural, just old. Like you've opened a letter meant for someone long dead. Historians still argue whether early humans worshipped, feared, or just avoided creatures like Pachycrocuta. There are no paintings of it, none we've found anyway. No legends that survived in full. But things don't disappear completely. They just change costumes. Maybe the demon stories that echo through later cultures, the night feeders, the bone snatchers, the forest shadows. Maybe those are just the hyena-bear with better branding. You step back out into the air. The sky has turned a deep velvet blue, stars scattered like teeth across the dome. The wind picks up. You listen. Nothing, which is worse than something. You keep moving now, following a narrow ridge that offers some elevation, some distance. It feels good to rise above things. For a while anyway. Then, far below, a movement. You stop, squint, see a long shape gliding through the snow, not quite running, not quite walking, just flowing. It's the adult male you think. Taller, leaner, darker. He moves like someone late to dinner, but in no rush to apologize. He crosses a frozen stream, pauses, sniffs the air. Then he howls, and everything inside you tightens. It's louder this time, fuller, no wind to swallow it. It rolls through the steppe like a tide of sound. This one isn't curious, it's declarative, a summoning. An announcement, a name spoken without words. You cover your ears and it still gets in. He moves on, vanishing into a ravine without glancing up. Like he knows he's not alone. Like he just doesn't care. And in that moment, you finally understand. You're not witnessing animals, you're watching aristocracy. This land doesn't belong to the hyena-bear. It is the hyena-bear. Everything else is just passing through. You wake up with a face full of snow. Not the poetic kind either. This is nose-numbing, ear-freezing, full-body regret. Somewhere between the ridge and the next thought, you must have sat down, leaned back, and dozed off. Just for a moment. But it's enough. The cold has crawled into your joints like squatters. You groan, brush yourself off, and shuffle upright. And there it is again. The skull. No, not the horse one. That's buried in your pack. This one's smaller, flatter. You almost miss it under a patch of hoarfrost clinging to the edge of a frozen stream. You crouch, blow gently. The ice peels away like old skin. It's another head, not human, not horse. You tilt it, and the shape clicks into place. It's a lynx, but not just any lynx. The skull is cracked cleanly straight through the sagittal crest. No claw could have done that. No cat, no bear. Only one thing. The hyena-bear's signature, move the skull crack. You turn it over and peer inside. Empty, of course. Cleaned out like a coconut left in the sun too long. The base of the skull still carries faint marks, ridges worn down from teeth grinding on bone, like someone tried to squeeze the brain out without making a mess. This is what the hyena bear does best, and not just once or twice, over and over. It wasn't content with meat. It went for the parts others left behind, the hard parts. The bitter marrow, the gristle, the core. Some modern predators chase a kill devour what's soft and leave. Not this one. Pachycracuta was a breaker. Odd fact, scientists estimate its premolars were so overdeveloped they made up nearly half the length of its jaw. Like a creature built not for biting flesh but for crushing fortresses. It didn't have to hunt, it just had to wait. You imagine that first split skull, the one that made early humans say nope? That bone-cracking sound across the plain like lightning inside stone. You wouldn't forget it. You wouldn't confuse it with anything else. You follow the stream downward. It narrows, threading between boulders slick with moss and ancient ice. You pass more bones, more gnawed antlers, but no meat. Not a single scrap. This predator didn't scavenge, it erased. Up ahead, the stream flattens into a frozen pool. It's shallow, clear enough that you can see the black stone bottom beneath the ice. In the center, there's a dip, a sort of bowl. Inside it, something catches your eye. You step onto the ice and immediately regret it. Every creak is a slap to your spine. But curiosity has its claws in you now. You kneel beside the bowl, inside a pile of bones, but not tossed or abandoned, arranged. Circular. Small ones outside, larger inside, and in the center another skull. This one's not animal, it's human. You don't touch it, you just stare. And slowly, the story assembles itself. This wasn't a kill site, this was placed. Whether by humans or something with less thumbs and more teeth, you'll never know. But either way, it's an offering, or a warning. Historians still debate whether early hominins and Pachycracuta had any consistent relationship, predator, rival, scavenger, partner. There's not enough evidence to say. But here in this quiet shrine under the ice, something has been said anyway. You leave it untouched. Far off, there's another howl. Not a long one this time, short, choppy, almost conversational. You remember reading that hyenas today use over a dozen distinct vocalizations. Who's to say Pachycracuta didn't have a few of its own laughter warning argument? Not words, but intention. The Ice Age was loud in its own way. You clamber back up the ridge and cross a stretch of cracked tundra that smells faintly of sulfur. Somewhere underground, water still tries to remember how to boil. But the real heat is long gone. You follow the scent of charcoal. At the base of a wind-blasted bluff, you find what you're looking for. A campsite, long abandoned. Just a ring of stones half buried. A few charred bones. A broken flint blade. Human. Not ancient, maybe, but not recent either. You squat beside the fire ring and notice a pattern in the soot. Someone had tried to draw something. With a stick, probably. Most of it's gone. But one curve remains. Wide at the base, narrow at the top, arched like a humped back. You know that shape. The hyena-bear's shoulders. Whoever camped here had seen one, maybe escaped one, maybe warned someone else. Maybe they became the bones under the ice. You sit down on the cold ground, wrap your arms around your knees, and stare into the wind. How many humans lived entire lives never seeing this creature, only hearing it from across the valley? How many whispered about it around fires, passed its shape down in scratches on stone? Taught their children which howls to ignore and which meant run. You've seen it, heard it, and now held the shattered heads it left behind. And still it hasn't touched you. Yet, the wind has shifted. You smell it before you hear anything, something sharp, iron-rich, familiar in the way bad memories are familiar. Blood, fresh, still warm enough to cling to the air. It slices through the cold like a knife through pounded meat. You slow your steps. The ground is different here, less snow, more churned-up soil, and patches of broken grass. You crouch, tracing a depression with your fingers. drag marks. Not deep enough for a mammoth, too wide for a wolf. Something was hauled. Something heavy. And they're a set of prints. Human. Barefoot or close to it, thin-soled moccasins, maybe. They stagger slightly. One set, one direction. You follow them. The trail leads into a narrow gully tucked beneath a crumbling ridge. It smells worse as you descend wet, fur-torn muscle, crushed leaves. At the bottom is a mess of bones, hide, and meat. A goat. Fresh kill. Belly split, spine broken. Liver missing, eyes gone. All the best bits surgically removed. And next to it, collapsed in a heap, is a human. Male, thin, maybe in his 30s. You can't tell if he's breathing at first. His cloak is soaked part blood, part meltwater. His arm is twisted under him, and one of his legs is wrapped in a makeshift splint of willow branches and sinew. He twitches. You kneel beside him. His eyes crack open, yellowed glassy. He mutters something in a language older than your bones. You don't catch the words, but you know fear when you hear it. Then he says something you do understand. It's watching. You follow his gaze up the slope, and you see it. Standing at the edge of the ridge is a silhouette. Hunched, massive. The moon outlines its shoulders like sculpted iron. Its head is low turned slightly. Not approaching, just observing. It doesn't move. You don't either. The man beside you starts shaking. He's too weak to run, too injured to scream. He just whispers again. It took the others. You try to calm him. You murmur lies. That it's gone. That you'll help him walk. That there's a settlement not far from here. None of that is true. Because you know what you're seeing. You're not being stalked. You're being considered. The hyena-bear doesn't lunge. It doesn't need to. This isn't the time for teeth. It's already fed. Probably on the goat. Maybe on the man's friends. It's only watching now because this is its place and you're standing in the middle of its resume. Odd fact. Some Ice Age kill sites suggest a pattern: humans would leave carcasses behind or wounded prey, and the hyena-bear would arrive after. Scavenger thief cleanup crew. Historians still argue whether it hunted people or simply knew when people meant food. You glance down. The man is slipping. You can feel it in his breath, thin and uneven. He's not long for this cold. You stand. The hyena-bear tilts its head. Curious, maybe even bored. Like it's seen this scene before hundreds of times over tens of thousands of years. You upright. The other dying. The snow, the moonlight, the helplessness. You step between it and the man. You don't know why. Instinct maybe, or arrogance. It doesn't move, doesn't flinch, just watches. You do the same. Minutes pass. Then it turns, just walks away. No drama, no threat. Just those thick shoulders rocking beneath its striped coat, the soft thud of paws in snow. A beast of myth with no interest in performance. You collapse beside the man again. His eyes flutter. He saw it. He knows. You whisper, "It's gone." But you're not sure you believe it. The gully feels hollow now. Like the sound of the howl hasn't left. It's just hiding, waiting to be remembered again. You look up at the stars. There are more than you expected. They flicker and dance like nervous watchers. Somewhere in those lights, the story of this place continues. The steppe, the predators, the ghosts. And you wonder, did we ever survive the Ice Age? Or did we just make a deal? By morning, the man is gone. Not in the theatrical way, no body dragged off, no signs of struggle. He just stopped being alive. Quietly. Like he knew it was time and didn't want to make a fuss. You build a cairn of stones over him with hands too numb to feel, muttering something respectful you made up on the spot. It doesn't matter what you say. It's the doing that counts. You don't look for the hyena-bear that day. Not directly. Instead, you follow the trail he left. Not the man. It. The hyena-bear. Its prints are clearer in the morning light, deep and wide, with front paws like shovels and hind ones more precise. There's something deliberate in the way it moves. Each footstep lands like punctuation. No wasted effort. It's going somewhere. So are you. The tracks lead uphill away from the gully toward a slope littered with frost-dried scrub and frozen ferns. The snow is patchier here, sunken, disturbed, like something large has passed through dozens of times. You reach a bluff that overlooks a long valley, and then you see it, a herd. Reindeer, maybe 30 strong, moving in tight formation, snorting steam hooves crunching softly. You drop low watching. The wind changes, and that's when you see him again, the male hyena-bear. He emerges from the tree line like fog turning into flesh. He moves low sidewinding like he's made of melted stone. He doesn't chase, he doesn't charge. He stalks. His head tilts, tongue flicks out, nose working overtime. He's calculating. The reindeer don't notice. Not yet. They're clustered defensive, but no alarm. You watch him settle behind a boulder wait. You wait too. After 10 minutes, you almost start rooting for the prey. You remember how fragile this balance is, but then something changes. A second predator appears. Not another hyena bear, a leopard. Big, thick-furred Ice Age version. It slinks from a parallel ridgeline, eyes locked on the same herd. It doesn't see the hyena bear. You hold your breath. Two predators, one target. Neither aware of the other, until snap. A branch. Tiny. The herd bolts. In the chaos, the leopard leaps, misses. The hyena bear doesn't move. He waits. As the herd scatters, one reindeer stumbles, young, clumsy, or unlucky. That's all it takes. The hyena bear is up. He doesn't run exactly, more of a galloping lurch. A boulder with ambition. He closes the distance in seconds. You expect the kill to be violent, but it isn't. It's surgical. He swerves, bites, once spine, and the reindeer collapses mid-step. No struggle, no sound, just one sharp crack like a log splitting in winter. You flinch. Then calmly, the hyena bear grabs the hind leg and starts dragging the carcass uphill, like a man hauling firewood. No celebration, no urgency. Just lunch. You stay low, stunned. Odd fact. Some researchers now believe Pachycrocuta was capable of both scavenging and active hunting, depending on the season, prey density, and opportunity. That adaptability may have been its true evolutionary strength. Not its teeth, not its shoulders, but its ability to wait for the perfect moment. Historians still debate whether that made it more dangerous than its competitors. You're forming your own conclusions. As the predator vanishes behind a rocky ledge with its prize, you stand and exhale. You've just seen something that hasn't been witnessed in over 400,000 years, and you didn't film it. You chuckle at the absurdity. The thought of uploading this to a channel. First hyena bear hunt in HD. Like and subscribe. But the joke fades quickly. There's no screen big enough for what you just saw. You follow the drag marks uphill cautiously, not to get closer, just to understand. What kind of creature waits for another predator to fail, then swoops in silent and sure for the win? A smart one, a scary one. At the crest of the rise, you find what you didn't expect. He's not eating. He's sharing. The female is there now, curled beside the kill. One of the juveniles noses at the carcass. The male steps back unhurried and lies down like he's finished his part of the equation. It's a family dinner. You don't move. You barely breathe. You just watch. They tear open the flank methodically. No chaos, no fighting. The pup is even allowed the first rib. You've seen lions squabble more over scraps. There's a structure here, unspoken, maybe, but real. A code. Odd fact. In some fossil sites, multiple Pachycrocuta individuals are found in close proximity. Once dismissed as coincidence, some now suggest they may have lived in loose family units, not full-on packs, but not solitary either. Historians still debate whether this structure was instinctual or strategic. Tonight you see both. Eventually the feeding slows, the male rises, sniffs the air, and howls. It's shorter this time, not so dramatic, but still deep layered, like a bell rung beneath the ground. a signal. Then he turns, and so do you. You don't want to overstay your welcome. You slip away down the slope, careful not to disturb a single stone. Your mind hums with questions, with awe, with a fear so old it doesn't even feel like fear anymore, just respect. Because now you've seen both sides of this creature, the opportunist, the hunter, the father, and you're not sure which is more powerful. The snow is falling now. Soft flakes drift down like pale ash, muffling the world in a hush that makes you think of lullabies sung by teeth. You tug your cloak tighter and keep walking, not quickly, just steadily. Everything about this landscape insists you slow down. You climb a rocky ridge and crouch at the top. The valley below opens like a cracked bowl filled with the long shadows of dusk. There are no herds, no predators, just silence. But it's not empty. Not really. You hear it before you see anything, a chorus. Faint overlapping. Wolves definitely. Maybe 15 or 20 calling to one another across unseen hills. Their voices rise like breath from buried mouths, some high and clean, some ragged and cold. A few harmonize in eerie thirds. You count the pitches automatically without realizing. And underneath it all, like a footstep behind a choir, is something deeper. Not another wolf, not a bear, it's him, the hyena-bear. You don't see him yet, but you know. That low rumbling undertone like a massive cello bow dragged too slow across frozen strings, it doesn't belong to anything else. You close your eyes and feel the sound settle into your spine. It's not a solo, it's a conversation. You climb down the ridge and follow the chorus. The wolves stay ahead unseen, but you hear them circle. A great loop, overlapping paths, call and response howls. It's communication, not just location. They're making decisions, and he's listening. Odd fact. Some paleoacoustics researchers believe certain Ice Age predators could distinguish between species-specific calls, not just identify them, but respond strategically. The hyena-bear may have been capable of interpreting wolfpack signals the way you might read an email subject line. We killed something. It's over here. You walk toward the center of the circle. Your breath fogs around your face like soft armor. You know you're getting close when the wolves go quiet. One by one, their howls cut off. Not in panic, just resignation. They've been interrupted. You crouch low behind a boulder, peer into the clearing ahead, and see the scene unfold. The kill is fresh. Maybe an elk. Maybe something stranger. You can't tell, its back half is already gone. The wolves pace around the perimeter, tails twitching, ears flat. Not angry, just annoyed. And in the center, like a theater star waiting for the applause to die down, stands the hyena-bear. He's not eating yet. He's just there. Head low, shoulders hunched, one paw resting on the carcass like a butcher claiming his cut. You'd almost call it elegant if you weren't so focused on not wetting yourself. He growls once, deep, a syllable of dominance. The wolves slink backward. No one challenges. He didn't hunt this elk. He didn't need to. He just waited for the right note in the song. Then stepped in, took the spotlight, and sat down for dinner. Gim. You think about modern hyenas, how they chase lions off kills, how they laugh like chaos made flesh. But Pakikukuta doesn't laugh. It asserts. Historians still debate how this power dynamic worked. Were wolves scared of it or just respectful? Did they avoid it altogether or tolerate it like a bigger sibling who sometimes punches too hard? Tonight the answer is clear. They make space. The hyena-bear eats slowly. No tearing, no frenzy. He bites deep into the ribs, snaps them one by one, and sucks the marrow like it's his birthright. Every movement is efficient, mechanical, holy. You watch from your hiding place and you swear he knows you're there. He doesn't look at you, doesn't change his pace, but you feel it. That heavy awareness, like a stage light tilting in your direction. The wolves scatter soon after. No ceremony. Just one by one they vanish into the trees. The wind replaces their song with something quieter. You stay until the stars shift above you. Then just before leaving, he does something unexpected. He howls again. Not loud, not long, Just enough. You feel it vibrate in your chest, a note you didn't know was missing, like punctuation on a sentence you hadn't finished reading. And then he leaves. No rush, no fear, just gone. You climb down into the clearing after he's gone. The carcass is still there, half-eaten ribs, cracked heart gone. You crouch beside it, press your hand into the frozen earth, and wonder what it means to own silence. Because that's what he does, this creature. He walks through songs and ends them. He doesn't fill the forest. He empties it. The next morning tastes like rust. You can't explain it. The air isn't different. The snow still crunches underfoot. The trees still whisper their tired secrets. But something in your mouth on your tongue feels off. Metallic, dry, like biting your lip in a bad dream. You spit. It doesn't help. The sun is a dull smear above the horizon, doing its best impression of warmth, but failing miserably. You trudge through old drifts, following nothing in particular, just motion, just instinct. Then you spot the vultures, not in the sky, on the ground. 4 of them hunched in that disgruntled, bird-shaped way, picking at something hidden behind a wind-blown ridge. They pause when you appear. One flaps once lazily, like it's not impressed. You approach, slowly, quietly. The smell hits you first. It's not like the goat from earlier. This is stronger. Riper, wronger. You round the ridge and freeze. It's a hyena-bear, or rather it was. You recognize her immediately. The mother. Her brindled coat is matted and torn, ribs showing through thick fur, back legs folded awkwardly. Her jaw is slack, eyes glassy. The snow around her is trampled. Dried blood webs the ground like cracked varnish. She's been dead maybe a day, no longer, and around her the signs of a fight. Large paw prints, deep scratches, broken tufts of lion mane. You kneel and trace the marks with your fingers. 5, 6 individuals at least. Lions. You try to picture it. The ambush, the rush, the defense. You imagine her standing over her cubs, roaring not like a bear, not like a cat, but that deep, grinding rumble you've heard so many times now. And for once, it wasn't enough. There is no sign of the pups, either gone or no. You don't finish that thought. Odd fact. While cave lions are usually thought of as dominant predators, there's evidence they occasionally formed large temporary coalitions to take down bigger threats, including other carnivores. This may have been one of those moments. You sit beside the corpse. You should be afraid, but you're not. You're something else. Not quite grief, not quite awe. You mourn. Because this beast, this monster you've tracked through teeth and silence, wasn't just a legend. She had cubs. She had rules. She had a name even if no one ever spoke it. You whisper something, you don't know what it is, just a sound low and steady, a farewell maybe. Or a thank you. And then you hear them, the lions. They're still nearby. Their growls echo faintly from the ridge above, impatient and smug. You stand suddenly alert. You're not a part of this food chain. You're a trespasser. And you've lingered too long. You move fast, keeping low, circling wide around the kill site. You don't run. Running invites attention. You just disappear. Step by step. But something twists inside you. The hyena-bear is gone. And with her, a silence has ended. You make camp that night in a shallow basin beneath a leaning pine. You light no fire. You eat nothing. You just sit there, cloak drawn tight, watching your breath rise like smoke from a dying offering. You think about her. Not the howl, not the jaws. The moment she let her pup chew the rib first. You wonder if he's still out there. Alone? Hiding. Learning how to break bones without someone showing him where to bite. Or maybe he followed his father somewhere deeper into the hills, somewhere not even you would dare step. Historians still debate whether extinction is ever truly final. Genes linger. Shadows stretch, myths twist and coil into new shapes. Maybe the hyena bear lives on not in fossils or museums, but in the stories we tell about things that watch us from the edge of the firelight. That night you dream. The snow is black. The trees whisper in languages older than bone. And behind you, padding softly, something follows. It doesn't chase. doesn't growl. It just waits. You never look back. By now, your boots are more patched than leather and your fingers feel like they've forgotten the concept of heat. Still you walk, one foot then the other, because that's what the step demands. Not strength, not courage, just stubborn repetition. The hills have grown quieter since the mother's death. The wolves don't sing as much. The ravens don't spiral overhead in their usual chaotic ballet. It's as if a string in the land's orchestra snapped, and no one dares replace it. You wander into a riverbed dry now, just a stretch of pale stone winding like an old scar across the tundra. You follow it, not because you think the hyena-bears used it, but because rivers remember. They carve, they collect, they keep secrets. Sure enough, it leads you to one, a shallow cave half collapsed, tucked beneath a slope of fractured basalt. You duck inside, brushing past stalactites like yellowed tusks. And there, beneath a crust of dust and time, you find the bones. Hundreds, maybe more. Some animal, some human, all cracked. Not shattered like lions might do. Not chewed into splinters, but opened, neatly, intentionally. You recognize the pattern instantly. You've seen it in the horse skull, in the lynx, in the goat, in the fear carved into the man's last words. You sit and begin brushing, not scientifically, just reverently, like you're revealing a story one frame at a time. The bones are stacked oddly, ribs in spirals, spines in rows, skulls facing inward. One pile looks almost ceremonial. You touch a femur. It's been polished not by water but by use. Odd fact. In several cave systems across Eurasia, researchers have found deep clusters of fragmented bones with no sign of permanent habitation, no hearths, no tools, no bedding. Just bones, arranged, sorted, like offerings or habits. Some say humans did it. Others whisper no. This was something else's house. You find a jawbone. Human, young, teeth barely worn. The break line runs straight through the molars. Efficient. You imagine the mouth that bit it open. You hear wind whistle through the cave's mouth and wonder how many ghosts this place holds. Then behind you a sound. Small. Click, scrape. You whip around, breath caught between ribs. A cub. Older now. Maybe a yearling. Lanky. Quiet. Fur darker than the mother's. Scar above the eye. He stares at you from the shadows, unmoving. You freeze. He doesn't growl. He just watches. You know better than to approach. You stay seated, palms open, heart-making drum sounds in your ears. He tilts his head slightly, then pads forward slowly, nose twitching. You brace for a snap. Instead, he sniffs your pack. Then the bones. Then, he lies down. Right there. Like you're just two wanderers sharing shelter. He doesn't sleep. Just rests. The way a sentinel rests. The way something learning how to be a predator rests. You don't breathe for several minutes. He's close enough that you see his chest rise and fall. You see the damp shine on his nose. The tiny flakes of snow melting on his fur. He's still growing into his skull, his jaw too big for his face, his paws too big for his body. You imagine what he'll look like in a year, or you try not to. Eventually he stands, circles once, walks to the edge of the cave, looks back at you, and this part you'll swear was real nods. Then he vanishes into the light. You don't follow. You just sit there surrounded by bones in a cave no human ever dared sleep in until now. And you understand something simple, something terrifying. The hyena-bear didn't disappear. Not yet. It's changing. Historians still debate when exactly it went extinct. Some say 350,000 years ago. Others argue for a much more recent disappearance. But all the timelines are stitched together from broken teeth and scattered fossils. None of them account for memory. None of them account for him. You rise and walk back out into the pale morning, and you stop listening for howls because the world is still making them, just quieter now. There's a village now. Not large, maybe a dozen structures all sloped like turtle shells under layers of hide and snow-brushed bark. Smoke snakes from the central fire pit curling into the dawn, like a question someone's too tired to ask out loud. You don't approach directly. You circle, wide step lightly, watching from the safety of trees. Children run past 3 of them, shrieking with that high-pitched joy only the very young are allowed. One trip's laughs makes snow angels on the ice-packed earth. You wait for a shout, but none comes. These people don't shout. They live like the weather, quiet, enduring, deliberate. You approach slowly, hands open. An elder notices you first. Her eyes narrow, but not from fear, just calculation. Like she's measuring what you've brought, not in your pack, on your face. You sit across from her near the fire. No one speaks for a long time. Words aren't needed. You smell seal fat on the coals, ash on the snow, smoke clinging to skin. It all says, we're still here. Finally, she points to your shoulder. The stripe. You glance down. Didn't notice it before. Your cloak is torn along the back and one long dusty streak runs from shoulder to waist. You frown. It brushed you, she says. You nod. Then she points to the bone in your satchel, the one you brought from the ridge. The mother. Another nod. That's enough. Odd fact. Across Asia, particularly near fossil-rich areas, oral traditions persist among reindeer herders and forest-dwelling clans. Stories of beasts with backward steps, jaws like stone hammers, and howls that cause birds to fall from trees. Western science never took them seriously. Just myth. Just noise. But myths remember what textbooks forget. The elder calls for something, a bundle of painted bark wrapped in sinew. She unties it and unrolls the contents slowly. A scroll of sorts, primitive and precise. Symbols scratched in red and black earth. You see him, or what must be him. Broad-shouldered, small-headed, jaws wide. Standing over a fallen lion. Behind him, smaller figures. Not cubs, humans. Watching, waiting. Long ago, she whispers, he judged us. You tilt your head. Judged. She nods. Not by right, by presence. If he left your camp untouched, you were strong. If he circled twice, you defended the earth. You blink. What if he stayed? She stares at you a long time. No one remembers. You leave at dusk. They offer you dried meat, a carved tooth, and a look you cannot return. That kind of gratitude is heavy. It sticks to the soul. You walk toward the mountains now. Snow grows deeper, wind louder. But something in you has shifted. You no longer fear the howl. You miss it. Along a cliff path you find carvings, not words, just shapes etched deeply into stone. Stripes, circles, a jaw, a paw. Some fresher than others, a few recent. Someone else has been here. Someone else still remembers. You set your pack down, pull the smallest bone from it, a tooth. Hers. The mother's? You press it into the groove of a half-finished carving. Not an offering, not a trophy, a continuation. Then you walk on. Historians still debate whether humans hunted Pachacrocuta or merely avoided it. Whether it was a threat to our kind or a shadow that shaped us. But you've seen the other side of the question. You've walked through the silence it left behind. You've stepped through the bones it broke. And now as you cross the frozen pass with the stars cracking open above you like eggshells, you wonder if we're the ones who vanished. Because no one howls for us. The wind is thinner up here. You've climbed higher than you meant to, above the tree line, above the bird paths, above the old caves where frost still clings to mammoth tusks like regrets. Up here, the world stops pretending to care if you live or die. There's just ice-stone sky and you. And him. His tracks are clear, not fresh but not old. Wide paws, clawed toes, deep foreprints. You run your fingers along the edge of one, still crisp, still sharp. He passed this way not long ago. You follow. The ridge narrows to a ledge, on one side the cliff. On the other, a steep drop into a frozen valley. You don't look down, you just walk. Slowly. 1 foot forward, 1 foot ready to retreat. Then the wind changes, and you smell him. Old fur, crushed bone, cold breath. You stop. Ahead on a rocky outcrop just wide enough to hold a ghost he stands. Older now. Bigger. The cub from the cave grown into the silence he inherited. His back is still striped, his shoulders broader, the scar above his eye deeper. He turns his head slowly, looks at you, and waits. You step forward once. He doesn't move, not away, not toward. This isn't a confrontation. This is a confirmation. You made it. You saw it all. And so did he. The wind howls, not him, just the wind. It rushes over the stones and through your coat and into your lungs like a reminder of all you've witnessed, of all that's gone. He turns back towards the valley and vanishes. No sound, no show, just gone. You sit there until dark, until the stars come out, until your hands stop trembling. And then finally you understand. He wasn't a monster. He wasn't a warning. He was a measure of who survived, of who listened, of who remembered. And now you do. You rise and descend the ridge, every footstep fading, every breath slower. The cold no longer bites. The dark no longer presses. Because the thing you feared all this time, it never needed your fear, just your presence. The howl has stopped, but the echo still walks beside you. The journey across the ancient steppes of Ice Age Asia began with a sound deep, primal, unmistakable. You followed it through frost, through bones, through silence, until you came face to face with its maker. Pachi crocuta, brevi rostris, the short-faced hyena. The hyena-bear. You watched it take what it wanted without apology. You saw it crack skulls, dominate predators, and raise its young with a tenderness that cut deeper than any tooth. You followed it through history, through fear, through fossils and fireless nights. You watched it die. And you watched it live again in the scarred cub that refused to disappear. This wasn't just a predator, it was a presence. One that judged without words, hunted with intelligence, and carved its memory into the very land it walked. You saw its dens, its dinner tables, its quiet grief. You saw what extinction looks like before its final, not a vanishing act, but a soft erasure. A lowering of the voice until only those listening carefully can still hear it. And now you carry that echo. You walk back from the high places, changed, not hunted, but chosen, because the hyena-bear never truly left. It lingers in how we remember teeth shadows and the silence that follows a howl.